Hi y'all, and welcome to the beauty side of my channel. I've decided that I'm gonna preface with my intro what sort of video it's gonna be, even though you could obviously tell by the thumbnail and the title and everything. But I thought it would be a nice little added element considering the fact that I am now going to be at least somewhat consistently making varied content on this channel. We ain't just a beauty channel no more. We cover in all sorts of areas of my eclectic ADHD autistic personality. And today we just happen to be delving into something beauty related again. And today we are going to be talking about and revisiting some of my most expensive makeup purchase regrets. Now, some of these sort of came without saying. Things that were really stuck in my mind where I'm like, well, that was expensive. I blew my wad on that. I have learned during my time in the beauty stratosphere that makeup, even drugstore makeup and affordable makeup, is a luxury. It is not something that is a everyday purchase item. I feel it's got a higher price point. I do try to take that into consideration when I do reviews and recommend things, because I understand a lot of price points are high, especially if you're shopping at Sephora. I really enjoy Ulta because it has the drugstore and the high-end element to it. But even with less expensive items and brands, makeup tends to add up really quickly. And so I thought I'd look back at some of the most memorable regrets that I have made throughout the years. I have been, I believe it is going to be 6 years on this platform. Seems like a lot more than that. Some of the items I have on hand to show you, some of them are going to be showcased on screen because they are long gone from my collection. There was a period there where I was doing nothing but basically cycling makeup that I wasn't using through my collection. And we might as well start out with one of the most significant ones, probably one that popped right up to my head as an expensive mistake, essentially, not just a regret. I was just dumb and stupid and young. And I want y'all to picture this. Young, 20-something Soraya, walking wide-eyed to a Sephora thinking, yes, I'm gonna buy makeup and review it and talk about it on YouTube, become a famous beauty YouTube guru. I go up, I pass the Sephora lady. Is she like, can I help you with anything? I know more than you, and I know exactly what I'm here for. And I walked my gothic alternative little ass, my black eyeshadow and blue lipstick wearing whatever, to the YSL section, and I said, I'm gonna need to get me not one, not two, but three of those ever so famous, very early 2000s YSL glossy, tinted, little effervescent colored lip balms. Okay, maybe they were a little bit more than lip balms. They were kind of like a sheer glossy tint, which, as y'all know, I'm sure the only reason I wanted it because at the time, all the beauty people, whatever, were absolutely raving over that. A lot of my makeup, I want to make a whole YouTube made me buy it video, but a lot of my makeup from that era, me starting out, was severely influenced by the beauty trends of that era, which, as we know, especially in the makeup time period, there's, in a short period, those trends go from yee to nothing. And for whatever reason, I had it in me that I needed these lip balms to be a legitimate beauty guru content creator. The same goes for, honestly, any of the hyped up contour kits. I had the Anastasia powder. I had the Anastasia cream, which I never even touched. Maybe swatched it, but I never touched that friggin' thing. All sorts of those iconic makeup pieces of beauty, whatever past, not last. I can do the speak. And so I just think about it, because those were at least $32 a piece. And you're like, okay, all right, that's, do tax and whatever, round it up. That's $100 worth of designer, luxury labeled, bougie. I kept it for the packaging, tinted lip whatevers, which I may enjoy now as I am enjoying a less full face beat on the face. But at the time, I should have been like, girl, what you doing? You wearing black lipstick. You wearing all the makeup. You ain't doing nothing that's gonna call for a slightly colored, tinted, glossy something. And that was seriously just money down the drain. Like every declutter, I would pull them out and be like, oh, but they're pretty. They're so pretty. There's going to be some kind of makeup look in the near future that I'm going to need to have these for, which inevitably is never going to happen, because if it hasn't happened in the 2 years that you've already had them, it ain't going to happen in the next 2 years. The next one really gutted me. It's again something that came right to the forefront of my mind. And then when I went to go look at it, I saw the price and I was like, Soraya, my girl, I need you to stop. And y'all probably remember the Natasha Denona Triochrome palette. I have a review on this shit. I will leave it linked down below for y'all. And y'all, in my review, I remember very distinctly talking about it and being like, I had a gift card and I had points and it was on sale or something like this, so I got it for a relatively good price, which is probably not a good price at all because Natasha Denona is disgustingly overpriced. But I talked about it and I was like, yeah, the 3 triochromes down the middle, amazing. But for how much she charges for these palettes, the mattes just weren't up to muster. They just weren't cutting it for me, especially when you take into consideration that her $65 palettes have what I consider so far to be an immaculately formulated formula. When I went to go back and look at this, and I couldn't remember what the price point was, and I saw that it was $129. I was like, what in the world possessed me? I must have been itching to buy some makeup 2 years ago for me to think, yeah, it's on sale. I'll get this $129 palette even on sale. And then the consideration with the fact that this is still retailing. It is not $129, but it's not even a $65 palette. The shimmers, the triochromes, amazing. But you can get those from other indie cosmetics without these crappy, pissy, not completely well done mattes for less money. Like, the color story is beautiful. Could this be deeper? Yes. Could this be deeper? Yes. Could that be deeper? Yes. I would have liked a bit more light to dark gradient rather than giving us these, again, pissy, washed out shades. And I knew I wanted to talk about this, and then when I went on and I saw that it was $129, I just... It's like, your spending must have been out of control for you to somehow justify. I don't care how much this shit was on sale for. It should not have happened. This is a palette I really need to pull into a rotation because I really like the triochromes. The mattes are okay, and for how much I fucking paid for it, I had better get my money's worth. But I was just disgusted at myself that I would reach the point where I would buy, regardless of how much I paid for it, a Natasha Denona $129 palettes, which are palettes that I have consistently shit on my channel. So I guess everything's come full circle, so it's all right. Then if we're talking about Natasha Denona, we might as well talk about Natasha Denona. Now, this isn't so much a regret. On a whole, it's a regret because I have zero freaking impulse control and I need you to focus. I have zero impulse control. Most of y'all know this from my channel, from me talking about it. I am going to be doing more low buy and more shopping addiction content. If you're interested in seeing my journey with that, I'll see if I can create a playlist of my videos and leave that down below. But for those of you who don't know, I have a really bad habit when it comes to purchasing anything, honestly. If one is good, then all of them are better. I've been known to purchase full highlighter lines, the whole collection, regardless of if it'll work on my skin tone, or whole ranges of blushes. I just, for whatever reason, the completionist in me likes to have them all. I don't like to be like, oh, I'll just get one. No. All of them. And so I think these better have been on sale for me to buy both of them. And these are the Natasha Denona Diamond and Blush palettes. Now, these When they were released, I lost my fucking mind. I was like, fuck me. Oh, an overpriced bougie face blush highlighter palette that I don't need? Give it to me now. And so I had this one. I think these were like $89 to begin with. They were disgustingly, exorbitantly expensive. And I remember pretty sure I anti-hauled these. Partly because I don't need another blush palette. I especially don't need another $89 blush palette. And especially considering the fact that half of this shit is cream. And if any of y'all know, you know how much of a cream person I am not when it comes to my makeup. Now today is a little bit different. I am using a liquid illuminator underneath that blush. That's because I've been enjoying a makeup without foundation look. So I'll probably be dipping more into these. But, you know, you're like, Soraya, how bad is it? You know, you've got the highlighter that, you know, kind of matches my skin tone. You've got this highlighter. You've got these. I love this as a highlighter and as a blush topper. These are kind of really redundant because you've got the powder one and the cream one and they're essentially the same. But of course it did not stop here. This one is the 01 Daria. This is the one made to suit my pasty complexion. This one is the 02 Citrus, which was not made to suit my pasty collection, although I swooned over this fucking yellow diamond duo glow thing that obviously is not gonna work on my, it's yellow, I'm not even sure whose skin tone this would work on. I mean, it's pretty. I would like to use this shit. I mean, look at it. It's pretty. I should really pull this shit and do a makeup rotation. But just looking at it and the fact that the only colors in this palette that change are these, and these are the 4 colors that are now too dark for my skin tone, and I already have both of the blushes. It was just, I mean, I think they were half off, so that made them 40 something, which, I mean, for a $40, but that is what I regret. I do not regret buying them initially. I don't regret buying this one. I regret going in and being like, well, clearly if I buy one, I need to buy both of them. And that is a really bad mindset that I'm trying very hard to break myself out of. I know y'all are very interested in the Use It or Lose It makeup series, as well as doing more Shop My Stashes now that I'm actually putting makeup on my face again. But like I said, not a loss on a whole, but just kind of like, why did you buy both of them? There honestly is no logical answer aside from I have zero impulse control. Then if we're talking Natasha Denona, we might as well talk Natasha Denona. This is probably this is the most disappointing product I have bought from her, and it is in fact one of the most disappointing products I have ever tried. And y'all know I absolutely love these. This is the Bloom Blush and Glow palette and the Love Glow palette. I love both of these. I use these so much, especially since I've been doing less makeup. I've been dipping into these creams again. Absolutely amazing. I stand by these 110%. And I stand behind her Tan Bronze and Glow palette because I love this palette for doing that no makeup. This is one of my favorite bronzy contouring powders. I love this. I use this as a really bronzy, glowy blush, or if I want to top it over something neutral. The only one I don't get a huge amount of use is this like cream highlighty bronzy shade, but all in all, I get good use out of this, and I thought this was going to be similar. This was so frustrating to work with. I liked the Super Glow Nude here. These ones right here, this like bouncy cream glow marshmallow smushness something. I hated working with these. Like, you have to really dig in there. Just absolutely nothing. The highlighter was really pretty, but again, this texture is nothing nothing like what the original creams are. Those original creams, they've been in there for a while. I haven't added no oil or nothing, and they're still just as smooth and creamy as pigmented as when I bought them, whereas this feels like it is dying a slow, sad death. It's not worth it to keep the Super Glow Nude or the Super Glow Bronze. I feel like this palette is a lot less versatile and a lot less user-friendly than this one. Like I said, this one I love, and it's essentially, I mean, fairly close to the same thing. Y'all would have seen I have actually decluttered this. There was no use it or lose it. I know I hate it. These palettes are not inexpensive. Nothing Natasha Denona is inexpensive, and this just honestly straight up sucked. Big, huge regret. Loved the palette. We'll leave that review down below if you would like to see. Another expensive purchase, which I honestly look at and I see the majority of my makeup being expensive, although some of it definitely stands out more than others. Pretty sure this was in a makeup products I regret buying. If it hasn't been, it absolutely deserves to be. I will leave this review down below, but for those of you who know, you know. The Colored Raine Juicy Boost palette is probably one of the worst palettes I have tried on my channel. And Colored Raine palettes are not inexpensive. They are very pricey. And if this palette was as good as the other colorful one they did, I am losing the name. This one, this absolute beauty here, the Vivid Pigment and Shadows. Love this. Reviewed it. Absolutely love it. If the quality had been the same as this on this palette, I would not be tearing it a new one. But as someone who used that palette, this was just, it was a dry, patchy, unblendable, super fallouty, but yet somehow not pigmented. Heckin' pigmented, yet it wouldn't apply to my lid. It wouldn't stay there. I just kept adding and it kept going away. The shimmers are absolute trash. They're chunky. They're fallouty. I went into this palette expecting all the best things, all the wonderful moments that I had with the other one. I think I did a trying it on camera and I was like, I suck at makeup. I understand. I'm not like the amazing makeup artists I see on TikTok or people who are doing full. I go light to dark and add some eyeliner on it. That's it. But at that, while I was going through it, I was just like, I suck at makeup. This is it. You would think that however many years practicing this, I would know how to use eyeshadow. And that's just my tagline. Maybe I just suck at makeup. But I did hear from a lot of y'all that this palette indeed sucked for all of you, which really stinks. Because looking at this, I'm like, this is really pretty. And I would like to slap this shit all over my eyelids, but I absolutely don't because I'm afraid of what it's going to do to me and my fragile psyche. I can't remember how much this was. If I remember, I will put it somewhere on the screen here because, like I said, Colored Raine palettes are not inexpensive. And I feel like for me anymore, when a palette starts going above 40 bucks, I'm like, do I really, really need that palette for 40 bucks? And I guess I thought I needed this one for more than 30 bucks, and so here we are. Okay, let's kind of edge out of the makeup stratosphere and touch on a little bit of skincare. If any of y'all know, I love skincare probably more than just straight up makeup. There is very little I love more than finding that skincare products that works for my skin type, makes my skin feel fresh and beautiful, and all the things it should naturally, but isn't naturally because my hormones are fucked. And so I have tried a myriad of inexpensive, affordable, and expensive luxury skincare. And probably, I don't know if it's the most disappointing. It's up there. It's up there on disappointing skincare, especially with how much the price point is on this shit. And that is the Tatcha Dewy Mist Setting Spray. Tatcha. You would think that Tatcha had connections to Jesus Christ, Savior of the world, with the way people were shilling this shit, especially in the early 2000s coming on in. Everyone was the Tatcha Dewy Setting Spray. Ha ha, and every time you'd be spraying it, you'd be counting off $1 because that's how much it cost with every use. I'm not sure how much it was. Again, I will leave the price point. It was exorbitantly expensive when you think of what it was, which is a hydrating mist spray, and you didn't get a lot of it to begin with for how much you paid for it. Like, price per fluid ounce was really freaking high. And I have a whole bunch of dewy setting hydrating sprays from various price points, the majority of which being lower, that are just as good, if not better. This is one of those Tatcha products that I tried, and I used up every single drop of that shit because, I mean, if anything, out of spite, I paid for it, I'm gonna use it. And at the end, I was just like, you know, it didn't change my makeup experience. It didn't change my skincare experience. It was just nice. It was just okay. It kept my face nice and dewy, but wasn't something that I was like, yes! Absolutely not life-changing, life-altering. It was just an overpriced bougie spray that people like to buy because you were putting Tatcha on your face. The Tatcha. It was the same thing that when the Farsali liquid gold and whatever shit came out, and it was like, Farsali, because I don't know, that's how we get, and that's how I was. Otherwise I wouldn't be here talking about this shit. It was just for how much they charge for that, how little you got, and how little extraordinariness it did for me. It was just an absolute dud, and definitely, I wouldn't say wasted money, but a big regret because it didn't do shit. Then if we're talking another expensive regret, although this could be considered a regret just on its own, even if it wasn't expensive, it would still be a regret. I talked about this somewhat recently, I think in the past 3 months or so. I'm not sure what video. If I remember, I'll leave it down below. But the Jeffree Star x Shane Dawson Conspiracy Palette, and opening this up will give you the exact reason why it is a regret. Why did I buy this shit when it released? Well, because it was Jeffree Star, because it was Shane Dawson, because it was all hyped up, because I needed to have it. I remember trying to get all this up because I bought it on the launch and I made sure I was there and 2 seconds in queue and everything like that. And I was waiting after I got this, desperately trying to figure out a eye-catching look. And I must admit, I will put the review down for this. That is one of the least confident times I've felt on camera because I didn't like my makeup. I didn't like my makeup. I didn't like the wig I had on. I didn't like the way whatever it is I wore. But I was just so intent to get that review out because my Jeffree Star reviews did fairly good compared to other content I made. But just there is no nostalgia looking at this palette. There is no joy welling up within me. Like I look at Blood Sugar and I even look at Blue Blood and I look at a majority of his other palettes that I love and use. And they bring up nice things. This just brings up, why the fuck did I buy you? Jeez. And I understand that it's like, oh, it's disjointed because it's Shane Dawson and he's so quirky. I do like that shade. This is honestly one of the first of his palettes that I'm like, yeah, I could see myself depotting some of the good shades. Like, that's a nice shade. I do enjoy that green. I enjoy this shade. That's a nice shade. Just all in all, it just does next to nothing for me. And I understand I'm not a fancy, again, maybe I suck at makeup. Maybe I don't have the artistic mindset to be able to pair the orange with the brown and then the black and the green and the puce and the silver. I look at this and I'm literally like, what do I do with you? This is like the ugly, unwanted child in my makeup collection. And it's big and it's cumbersome and it's just, if I had looked past all of this and the hype and everything and actually paid attention to the colors that I was going to be putting on my eyelids, I would have been like, you don't like it. You think it's ugly. I still stand by my opinion that if Jeffree had released this color palette, not as a Shane Dawson release, but as just a Jeffree Star release, he would have been dragged for fucking filth. People would have lost their shit because this is an ugly ass looking palette. If it's your favorite palette, that's great. Absolutely fan-fucking-fastic, so you keep doing you, boo-boo. And I will indeed keep doing me and probably do... Like, that's a pretty yellow. Don't know when the fuck I'd wear it, but that's a pretty yellow. I just together on a whole, it is very unappealing. And this is one of the only... This is the only Jeffree Star palette that I have purchased that I'm like, yes, I hate you. You would go. That's what I talked about it in the eyeshadow palettes if I was getting rid of one per brand. And this was the one on the chopping block. I was like, guillotine it already. It's suffered enough. And then we might as well end on probably one of the biggest, the most telling, expensive regrets that I have ever had. And that is going to be a big doozy for Melt Cosmetics. And that is going to be the Melt Cosmetics X Beetlejuice collection. There was so much hype around this shit. There was so much. When creators and companies actually create products and collections that do, I feel like, vibe with the soul of the movie, the intellectual property that they are collaborating with, it gets everybody going. And I thought that this was a fantastic collaboration that really executed in color theory and aesthetic. It really kind of had the heart and the feeling and the nostalgia of Beetlejuice in it. I love Beetlejuice. I love Tim Burton. Just the whole thing, I was there for it. I cannot remember how much the entire collection cost. We had 2 palettes, we had a brush set, we had freaking eyeliners, we had liquid fancy lipstick topper things, we had the regular lipsticks, and I bought the whole damn thing. Hook, line, and sinker. Big, giant box showed up to my house. I reviewed that shit, and then I sold everything except for the eyeshadow palettes. Again, I stand by saying what I said in that video. We'll leave that review linked down below. These are 2 of the best formulated eyeshadow palettes Melt Cosmetics has ever done. I said if they could take this formula and run with it, they absolutely should. As well as the quality and the aesthetic, just absolutely everything about the collection, aesthetically and quality-wise, was really freaking top-notch. It was all really, really good shit. But it was probably one of the biggest learning experiences for me that I should, in fact, not buy whole collections, because I get caught up in the hype and I should look at it and be like, what are you going to use out of this collection? And it probably would have been, I probably could have I talked myself into all of it. I was like, yes, of course I'm going to use all of it on a daily basis. That totally justifies that, I think, at least $400 price mark. It might have been over $400. The brush set alone, not in the big giant collection box set, was like $80. And it's just one of those things that, looking back on it, I'm like, yeah, the palettes are great and the whole collection was great and it was fun to review, but I don't think it was $400+ of fun to review. And I think it's just really telling that I sold everything aside from these. I got what I would say the majority of my money back, because that collection was still really, really freaking popular and people were selling like one lipstick for like $80. And I'm like, I see your way, $80 for one lipstick, and I'll sell you 3 for that price. Just honestly trying to get the majority of my money back, because that was a financial mistake. Objectively, that was a financial mistake. It was a monetary loss for myself, as well as what I make on my channel, which is next to nothing. I do not have the view count, ad revenue count to be making those kinds of purchases, because, oh, It makes YouTube content. That's a $400 purchase for a $5 video. It's just not happening. So honestly, as much as I love these palettes, which I really do, and I need to pull these into a makeup rotation. Basically, I need to pull everything into a makeup rotation. But seriously, I really should pull these into a makeup rotation because they're absolutely gorgeous. This goldy green right here, that shit fucks me up so stinking much. So I'm really happy that I have the palettes, but all in all, I'm pretty sure I got rid of the big giant presentation box as well, which is another thing that you purchase for. I just need to stop. When they did the Amor Eterno, the one with that really pretty eyeshadow palette and the blush palette that I reviewed, they kept sending me, oh, buy this and buy this and buy the whole collection. I said, I don't want the whole collection. I want the palettes and that's it. So they got me once. They did. They got me very good with the Beetlejuice collection, but they did not get me on that next one, partly because I had learned, and I do need to learn and take my own advice, that when it comes to intellectual property, do not let the nostalgia monster win, because the nostalgia monster wants you to buy $400 worth of makeup products in a big fancy presentation box that you are inevitably not going to use. All right, that was me being long-winded about makeup products, expensive makeup products that I regret buying. I mean, all regret is sad and awful, but when it comes with a hefty price tag, it hurts just a little bit more. I would love to hear what y'all have to say about the products I talked about. If they're the amazing shiznit and you absolutely love them, again, that's fantastic. These are my opinions and experiences, as well as an expensive makeup that you regretted, because when you have the high price point, we have learned that price point has nothing to do with quality, but there's a little something in your mind that you're like, okay, I'm investing $129 into this fucking palette. I would like to think that it would work. But we can't trust that anymore. So I would love to hear your expensive makeup purchase regret fails. But thank you guys so much for watching. And as always, keep it real. Mwah!